Welcome back. Welcome back. Hey, y'all, this is Dr. Samaria. Y'all know who I am. But for those who are watching or listening to this for the first time, I am Samaria M. Colbert. I know I said my first name kind of fast. I do talk kind of fast, but I'm working on it. I am a licensed therapist, and I've been in the mental health field over 16 years. I'm a published author. I've written close to 60 books. My goal is 100 within the next 5 to 10 years. I am a private practice owner, and that means I have a private practice called Kingdom Creative Counseling, and we're located in North Carolina, Greensboro to be specific. And I do all kinds of fun things to bring about lasting change. And so how I am separated from maybe your average therapist is that I give you faith-based principles. I'm unapologetically a Christian. I love me some Jesus, and I talk about him on my social media platforms. Now, what I was gonna say, I do. So anyway, so what we're doing today, just so we're clear, is not therapy. I do plug therapy a lot. Go to therapy, go to therapy, go to therapy. But remember, when you see me on any type of social media platform, This is not therapy. Okay, this is not a replacement for therapy. It's just not therapy. So that's what I want to say. Okay, so let's talk. Okay, y'all ready for this one? We're gonna talk about Haman's Plot. For those who don't know, I did release a book called Learning to Lead. Okay, and I read a lot of books upon leadership. I wrote a book called Broken Trying to Lead, Hidden to Lead, which is why God hides us. I did it years ago. I did a book called Spiritual excuse me, mantles, kingdom mantles, kingdom authority, all those kinds of things I did years ago. My first book was called No Problems Without Process. So you will see a vein of what I talk about. Not only what I talk about, but what I write about is really on one vein is mental health and emotional healing through using faith-based principles, of course, my clinical background. And then the other part of me is like leadership development and all those kinds of things. And I did my research on the comparative study between a faith-based leadership development and non-secular. So I don't want to bore you with all that. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't know what's going on with me. But today I want to again give a plug for that book, Learning to Lead, and it's a talk about a biblical perspective on organizational, spiritual, and individual leadership development. And so I want to talk to you about a brief topic called Haman's Plot. Haman's Plot. I won't be before you long. Famous last words. What I did was talk about some of the pitfalls every leader will have to go through. Still working on another book about the brokenness of leaders, but also different types of things that will come against an organization, different type of people that will come against an organization. And I also talked a lot about in that book, again, make sure y'all pick it up. It's a different type of people you need on your team. Okay. And I talk about different personality types. You need an Ezra, you need a Deborah, you need an Esther, you need a Mordecai. And I broke down in that book the type of character that they had, that they walked in, that made them really good for your organizations. You need a Daniel. So anyway, so it's a lot. Pick up the book. But today I want to talk about if there is a positive, if there is an anointed person that you need, you will always come across folks with a demonic agenda. All right. And oftentimes the ones who have a demonic agenda are the ones who are plotting and planning, trying to get next to people who are using deceptive means to get next, right? And so that does happen. And so we cannot talk about all these wonderful things and not give you some the ugly side of things, because the Bible says we are not ignorant of Satan's devices. If you are not aware, you just think everyone that comes into your corner is anointed for you. And I said in my last time, you're not anointed for everyone. You're not assigned to everyone, and everyone does not have pure motives. One of the things I've come to learn is that oftentimes people seek leadership positions because it gives them a faulty sense of confidence. Some people are manipulated by certain spirits, that we'll talk about today. And so one person that you will see within organizations, and this is not just a church alone, this is any organization that's been in existence any amount of time, you will find this type of character, and his name is Haman. But also, if you read the book of Esther, Haman was the antagonist in the story. It is a true story, okay? It's a biblical story, but he was the enemy, which is the antagonist. He was the one that had the plot and the plan. And so you will always find, I'm not going to go into detail. You just read the book of Esther and look up Haman, okay? Haman was someone who had an agenda, but you will find someone, again, in any organization who has this Haman type of spirit, because remember, people die, obviously, but the spirit tends to not die. It goes from generation to generation to generation. So even though we don't have people named Haman, I know what's going in their right mind, hopefully, name that child Haman because of the connotation associated with that. but you are going to find people who have the same spirit as Haman because he operated under a demonic agenda, right? So who was Haman? Haman was like the prime minister. He was like the second in charge. He was promoted to promoted to that position by the king. He was promoted by jockeying, by deceptive means, and he appeared to have the king's heart. And so he was promoted because he appeared to be everything that the king was looking for, and therefore the king promoted him. How many know that? And I said this in our last session. We're gonna say it again. You cannot endorse who God has not ordained. But King Hirsa, and I may be saying it wrong. I'm gonna finish this today. he didn't have that level of insight. Because every leader, particularly the larger your organization, you're going to have blind spots, and you're not always going to be able to discern who is your Esther, who is your Mordecai, who are your people, who are your Daniel, who are your Joseph. You're not always going to be able to discern them right away because you have so many people coming at you. So King Hirsa, I may pronounce this wrong. You know what I mean. He didn't discern the true nature of Haman until the end. By the way, in any organization, you always have a Mordecai. And like I said, you already have a Esther. So he didn't discern that he had a demonic agenda, or that Haman had a demonic agenda. As y'all know, we read the story very carefully. Eventually, God used Esther and Mordecai to expose Haman, end up saving an entire nation. And then he ended up being, in Esther, we celebrate her to this day. Mordecai, who was her uncle, ended up being promoted to positions in the same weapon that Haman tried to come against the people of Israel on. He ended up being emballed, or if you ended his life. When you on social media, you can't use the words you're supposed to because things get blocked. But he ended up his life being was executed, and because of the plot and the same weapons that he used, he was trying to use against the people of Israel, ended up being used against him. Okay. And so again, read the book of Esther. It's it's a short story. I love the story of Esther. And Haman was the antagonistic. So, and then again, we're going to look at this from an organization perspective and the spirits that tend to come against these types of organizations, right? So 10 things about Haman that will be done. 1, Haman is always motivated by a demonic agenda. Remember, from the beginning, Satan's agenda was manipulation. So point and 2, power and control. Satan wanted to be worshipped, and he looked at God, and he was not okay with his position, and he said, I'm going to be you. He didn't say I want. Some scripture says I want to be like the Most High, which is but he didn't say, because all of us in some ways want to be like Jesus. Lord, make my heart like yours, break my heart for what breaks yours. Let me see things the way they used to, so that I could be in line with you. That's not what Satan's agenda was. He thought that he desired and he deserved to be worshipped. He saw that even though he was leading praise and worship, he saw, as he looked at God, that he was never getting any credit. He saw that God was the one on the throne, and God was the one who was being worshipped, even though Satan had a position. He then says, I'm going to be you. And he thinks that he's going to dethrone God, watch this, and put himself in position. All right. So if you kill them, if you catch it, you catch it. Watch this, person who has a demonic agenda, they look at people in positions of authority. And like I said that last time, some people are not trying to glean from you. They want to be you. And they think, if I can plot, if I can scheme, and if I can scam, I can take you off position. I can change the way people see you, and I can put myself in the position. But thank God that we have a God on the throne who sees all things, and their plots and their plans do not work. All right. So again, the point number 2, 1 and 2, I said Hamans are motivated by a demonic agenda, and their mode of operating is power, manipulation, and control. You cannot be manipulated without first being deceived, and you cannot be deceived without being manipulated. Right? And so how did this evil person get put in that position in the first place? King Hirsa would have never put him in that position had he known the plot, watch this, of Haman, who was really an enemy. He did that through deception. He didn't know who was in his camp. So if you are a leader and you have ever had someone had a Haman or a Jezebel type of nature, don't dog yourself out and make yourself feel bad. God covers you by his grace. But remember, it happened in the Bible. Okay, it happened in the Bible. But God has the final say. And so we thank him for his grace. The reason why Haman is deceived is because, point number 3, he is deceived. Remember, the first form of deception, believe it or not, is self-deception. Anytime you think you can take someone off their throne and put yourself in position, anytime you think you're gonna, because Haman he had a plot against the people of Israel. When I looked up the history of who he was a part of the Amalekites, and they already had a deep-seated hatred for the people of God who were the Jews. He already had a deep-seated hatred for them. So him being put in position, he thinks that his plots and his plans are going to work because of his own self-hatred. Okay? That went back generations. Okay? So he was an enemy of God. And he was deceived because you cannot be an enemy of God, an enemy of God's people, and think your plots and plans are going to work. Now, it may appear to be, this is why we got to be spiritually aware. It may appear to be on the onset, Haman's are winning. Right? It may appear to be they're winning because they're in position. But remember, your position does not mean you are the promise. Come on, Samaria. I said your position does not mean you are part of the promise. You let you have your little fun, get your little position if that's what's going to make you feel good. But remember, it's only a point of time. Your days are numbered in essence, is what I'm saying. So Haman, point number 3, like I said, he was deceived because he deceived others or tried to deceive others because he was already deceived. Right? All right, y'all. Point number 4. This is how you know someone else is a Haman. He was motivated by the spirit of jealousy and envy. Now, I've said this many times, but the difference between jealousy and envy is there's a difference. Jealousy means I don't like you. I don't like your position. I don't like what you've accomplished. I don't like your purpose in life. But and that's not a good thing. I did a brief teaching on jealousy when Miss Robinson had passed away, and I said, y'all, this is an example of jealousy, right? But let me tell you what the difference is. Jealousy is I don't like it, but jealousy will always, it's like a cancer. It'll always turn to envy. What's the difference? When someone is jealous of you, they just don't like you. They don't care. They don't like your position. If it continues to go on, their jealousy leads to envy. And envy is they're going to plot. So jealousy is I don't like you. I don't care for you. I even hate you. No, I don't hate anybody. I'm just telling you, for example. But when someone becomes envy, they're going to do something about it. The first ending of someone's life, godly, that happened in the Bible, happened because of envy. Cain and Abel. Right? Cain ended his brother's life because of jealousy and envy. Had nothing. Now watch this. The Bible didn't tell us that Abel and Cain didn't get along. Didn't tell us they were arguing back and forth. Did not tell us that they had a contentious relationship. All Abel did was find favor with God, and he found himself with the enemy, with his own brother. And oftentimes when people are envious and jealous of you, they're envious and jealous of you because you have favor with God. This is why you can't keep an envious person and you can't. I'm telling you, you just can't do it. All Abel did was find favor with God. Now, some people that will be envious of your favor, of your blessings, of what you have accomplished. Right? And so you gotta be careful. So Haman was rooted, or his agenda and was jealousy and envy. Okay. These are also Haman's people who want to get next. I told y'all in the last teaching, this is what God spoke to me. I'm not taking that back. People that run after people with power and positions are not being sent by God. Okay? They think if I can get next to someone, if I can plot and plan, and y'all know what they do in the corporate world, they plot and they plan. We call it office politics, but there's office politics everywhere. So they can deal with the bureaucracy and they can go here and there and everywhere, and try to get next. They are rude. This is why you have to be careful. I said before and I'll say it again, and I'm not taking it back. People that run after you for positions are not the ones God has called. Those are Haman type spirits. All right. Point number 6, they have a secret agenda, a secret plot, and a secret plan. Now, the conversation that Haman was having with his wife and his comrades were very different than the conversation he was having in front of the king. Very different. So he was talking about his plots and his plans, and almost in an arrogantly prideful way in front of his wife. Okay, in front of his kid. He wasn't saying that. So what Haman's do, they shapeshift. In front of the leader, they are everything you're looking for. But behind the scenes, they got a whole plan. They got a hidden agenda. Haman's represent people who have a what? Hidden agenda. Okay? They appear to be wise counsel. This is y'all got to get this one. If you an organization, you got to get this one. The person next to you, they say, I'm your, they pretend to be, I'm your Deborah, but it's really a Jezebel spirit, which is still Haman. So they appear to be wise counsel. So they start telling you things about people. This person, and that person could be in a part of your organization. That person's really jealous. You got to look out for them. And this person don't even like you. And they always got something to say negative about somebody else. This is Haman's, because they're slowly trying to wipe people out. Everybody on your team that's really for you, that really hears from God, they're slowly trying to put little bugs in your ear about somebody else and slowly isolate you away from people that could give you godly counsel. This is why God hides certain people, because he understands the plot of the enemy. But Haman's always got a hidden agenda against somebody that has no hidden agenda against them. Hamans are very jealous of other people, but they will swear up and down that the other people are jealous of them. People are not even thinking about them like that. Hamans are like, no, yo, they're jealous of me. They're not. It's really it's a really issue. If y'all know anything about therapy or psychology, it's really issue projection. They're projecting what's inside of them onto other people. But they appear to be wise counsel. I'm discerning. Discerning is not negative. Discerning still comes with peace. Discerning it's not your pessimism. You cannot discern when you already have a contentious relationship and you're nasty to people. That's not discerning. You understand? All right. So they appear to be highly valuable. Obviously, Haman will put in that position because he a shapeshifter. He appeared to be highly valuable. He appeared to be the thing that the king was looking for. They're not. Hamans are like cubic zirconias. They look good. They have no real value. When I was in school, for those who don't know, when I was undergrad in particular, more so than a graduate school, I worked at some jewelry counters, excuse me. And so we had our fine jewelry behind lock cases, and we had like alarms and everything around these things. And then watch this, we had our cubic zirconias out. And so what I learned that if you to the naked eye, a cubic zirconia and a real diamond almost look the same. Almost can mirror it. They look almost the same. But when you look back on it, you realize once you put it under some test, hashaba. Y'all hear that? You put it under a test, which is a pen. We had like a pen. And I don't have a pen. We had some type of pen. We would stick the thing on the diamond and we could tell whether or not it was real or fake. But some people from natural eye couldn't tell whether or not it was fake or not. So now they have these things on YouTube or not YouTube, the whole show, or what do you call them? YouTube videos of people just get their diamonds tested. But we did that, back in the day before YouTube was really popping like that. But at the mirror, at the natural eye, without this jewelry tester, it looks the same. Look like you got a perfectly flawless diamond. The difference is it has no value. And that's how Hamans are. They're not really valuable to your position. They're not really valuable. As a matter of fact, they are demise to your organization. If you leave a Haman in long enough, your organization eventually it's gonna wear away. Okay. But at the onset, until you put it under that telescopic microscope, it appears to be highly valuable. This is why when I said, people on your team, you got to really discern who's and what's what. Okay. Last two things here. Haman had a deep-seated hatred for God's people. He had a deep-seated hatred for God's people. But he, in the eyes of the king, he made the king feel like those people, King Herta, need to be doing X, Y, and Z. They need to be worshiping. And he appeared as if he was telling the king, kind of advising the king of how he needed to respond to the people of Israel. He appeared to be a wise counselor. but his motive was rooted in a deep-seated hatred of God's people. There are people as sure as my name is Samaria Copeland who are who I don't know if they're in positions, but they appear to be Christian, and they appear to love God, and they appear to love people, and they appear to be certain kind of way, but in their core heart, they have a deep seated hatred for the people of God. Point number 10. Now, Haman is actually the male version of Jezebel. So when I look at scripture, you'll find certain personality have a certain spirit. So we are all familiar with Haman, but most people are more familiar with Jezebel and her plot against the people of Israel, right? And so if you look at the male version of Jezebel, it is actually a Haman. And Jezebel is again a rooted same spirit of manipulation, power, and control. Jezebel will allow your leader, your organization leaders in position, but really they're behind the scenes running the show. And so if you really want to look at a female version of Haman, it's really Jezebel. But again, we talk about Esther versus Jezebel. When you look at their positions, their actual physical position is at the difference between Jezebel and Esther. They had the same position. They were married to the king, the same position. The difference is their posture of their heart. Esther had a heart for God. She had a heart for her husband, and she had a heart for her leader, her other leader, which is Mordecai, who was a type of God. Her heart was pure before God, and because her heart was pure before God, she was able to save a nation. Esther, on the other hand, had no heart for her husband, even though she was in position. She hated the people of God, even though she was in a position, and she only had a heart for herself to be worshipped, to be adored, control, manipulation, and power. They had the same position. It was not the position that qualified them. It was their heart. It was their heart that teaches us who's who. Okay. And so Haman is that person. And so again, for every organization leader, you have to discern who's who and what's what. All right, pick up that book, Learning to Lead. It's available now. So what should we do? Last few things here. I'm going to read you Psalm 37, verse 1 and 2, and that's it. This is what the scripture says. Or three verses. KJV. It says, "Fret not thyself because of evildoers." I mean, with people who do wrong. "Neither thou be envious." Don't let that spirit of envy get in you, because Haman's are in position. "A worker's watch of iniquity." This is Haman is a worker of iniquity. He said, God said, don't be afraid of evildoers and workers of iniquity. He said, "For watch this is that, for they shall be cut down like the grass, and wither as a green herb." They're going to be cut down. Haman's and Jezebel are not going. When God has established an organization, when it's him, their plots and plans are not going to succeed, regardless of what it looks like. He said, "They soon shall be cut down like the grass and wither." Last thing here, this is what our responsibility is to trust God and do good, because God had to follow. See, just because you don't see a way does not mean that it's not a way. It's still a way. You just can't see it. He does not reveal to you all the plots and plans and what he's going to do when Haman's are in position. He doesn't tell you that. But he says, trust in the Lord and still keep doing good. So shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed. God is going to elevate you, but you got to trust him and believe him. But regardless of what it'll like, keep trusting and keep being faithful. I'm Dr. Samaria M. Colbert. Y'all know who I am. Go to my website at www.drsamariacolbert.com. You can pick up any book that I have written. Request speaking engagements and all those kinds of things. It'll be fine. And then so yeah, so just go to my website. All right, and also my free book, The Accuser, is also there. You can download it and it'll go to your inbox. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is, if you want to look at the trainings, www.trainingchristianleaders.com. If you want to book me for a training, okay, or to do a live training, you have to go to my website at samariacolbert.com. But the other ones are pre-recorded. They're available to you really, really good. It's www.trainingchristianleaders.com. I am accepting new clients in my private practice. It's called Kingdom Creative Counseling. You must be a North Carolina resident. I did disable the comments because I am a healthcare provider and I need to protect your confidentiality. And so that's that. But make sure you, again, just go to the website. And if you're a North Carolina resident, you're glad, you may just go ahead and request an appointment. Okay. Thank you so much. We're back in another day, another time, and another banger. Bye.